Hi everyone. Okay, welcome to your chapter 2 summative review video. This might be kind of long, but I tried to pick out the most important components from chapter 2 that'll best prepare you for your summative that should be on Wednesday. So here we go. Feel free throughout the video to kind of pause it just in case you want to work out the problem yourself. Then you can check with my work. Please remember, Miss Leanne is not very good at using the trackpad anymore since we're not remote learning. So just give me some time here, okay? Let's get started. So one of the first skills that we're going to be looking at on the assessment is just how to solve an equation. When you see something like this, remember you want to use distributive property, which utilizes multiplication. So negative 2 times x gives you a negative 2x. Now, when you do a negative 2 times a negative 1/2, a negative times a negative gives you a positive. So I'll bring down my addition sign, and then 1/2 of 2 is just 1. And equals 23. Okay, this man is already failing at using this trackpad. My next step to start isolating my variable is to take this +1 and move it to the other side to combine with that constant. To move a +1, we'll do the inverse. We'll do -1, -1. And now we've got negative 2x is equal to 22. Oh my gosh, this pen is driving me crazy. The last way to get x by itself, we divide both sides by -2, and x is going to equal -11. And that's pretty much it. So that's pretty basic multi-step equation. Now, when you look at this one, you have variables on both sides. No matter what, you need to get your variables on one side and your constants on the other. I usually try to use my lower variable term first. I try to move it to the other side, so I'm just going to do that. Now, looking at 4p and 22p, this little guy is smaller. So to move a positive 4p to the other side, I will subtract it. And notice that I'm lining it up right underneath its like term. So 22p minus 4p will give me 18p. I still have plus 11. These canceled out. Now be very careful. This minus 7 needs to be brought down in entirety. So it acts as like a -7. Now I've got my variables on the left side, which means I need to take this plus 11 and move it to the other side to combine with that -7. To move a plus 11, we'll do the opposite. So we'll say -11 and -11. Now these cancel. I will bring down my 18p, and a -7 take away another 11 is going to give you -18. Final step, divide both sides by 18, and you get that p is equal to -1. Moving right along here. Okay, welcome back to literal equations. This is when you look at the second one here, when you only have variables and you need to isolate them using inverse operations. So for both of these, we're trying to get m by itself. That's our goal, to isolate m. So for this first one, I know I'm trying to get m alone, but it's kind of wrapped up with the 4, then you've got a +8. But we can start by moving that +8 to the other side. This skill is kind of just like the game of just moving pieces mathematically. Okay. So now m is almost by itself, but to get it away from this coefficient of 4, right now it's being multiplied. So the opposite of multiplying by 4 is dividing by 4. So we will divide everything by 4. These will cancel and you'll have m alone. And then essentially, I'm just going to rewrite this entire piece. Wow. And let's just pretend it looks nice and neat and not cringe with my trackpad. Okay, so this is one that we struggled with a little bit at first, but you got much, much better at with practice. We know that we want to get m by itself. Right now, I notice that it's within both terms on this side, which means that we can factor it out. We can take it out. So I'm going to take out my m. Now, to get from m to am, multiply by a, plus to get from m to xm, I'll put a little x over here, and I still have y. Now, m is pulled out and it's almost isolated, but to get it fully by itself, right now it's being multiplied by the quantity a plus x, so we can divide that away to get m by itself. Now, when you do that, these cancel, and you're left alone with m, so that's good. And then you pretty much just rewrite this entire not expression, but like this entire side of the equation, this y over a plus x. And that is your answer. So yay you. Okay, so at this point, we're pretty much through 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5. We are moving on to proportions. When you have ones like this, where we're just solving for single numbers, it's pretty much just all calculator work. And unfortunately, my super lit TI-84 calculator is sitting on my desk at school. So I'm going to use my phone calculator. So don't judge me. My quick solving method for this one, I usually cross multiply and then I divide by the leftover. So in this case, we would do 3 times 5, which is 15. Okay, well, nobody can see that, so that's cool. 15, and then I divide by my leftover of 4. And when you do that, you'll get 3.75 equals Z. Don't be freaked out if you get decimals for this. It is not a big deal. That's totally fine. For number 8, to solve for W, we'll cross multiply 11 times 15, which gives us 165. And then we'll divide by the leftover of 12. Again, that will give us a decimal. So W equals 13.75. And that's okay. No one's going to freak out. Nobody's going to cry about it. Now, when we look at these, we're still using proportions and we're still solving, but these are multi-step. So it's not a quick calculator trick. To do this, we are going to use cross products, and I'm going to try and write it nice and neatly. So for this cross product, when we have 5 times t plus 7, remember that we set that up with the 5 on the outside and then t plus 7 in parentheses. It kind of like sets us up to use distributive property. For my other cross product, I've got 3 times -8, which is just -24. So my next step in solving is to distribute here. 5 times t gives me 5t, plus 5 times 7 is 35 equals -24. We're still kind of moving along our way here to get t by itself, so I got to move this 35 to the other side. The opposite of plus 35 is minus 35. And then we got 35, 24. And now because you have a -24, take away another 35, you're moving even more negative, which puts you at a -59. Bring down my 5t. And then to get t fully by itself, we divide both sides by 5. I know right away that that's not going to give me a very cute answer. That's okay. No one's going to cry. You promised me you wouldn't cry. And we get the t is equal to -11.8. Okay, why did I think I had to write more? Okay, we're good. Yeah, we're fine. Okay, here we go. Now this one is a little bit, it has a few more steps, but that's okay. So when I see that I have a multi-step proportion, I know I'm going to use cross products to set myself up for success to solve for x here. So in this first one, I've got 3 times x plus 4 equals, and then my other little cross product, 4 times x minus 3. Okay, wow. And then let's go ahead and distribute and simplify. So 3 times x. Oh, it's Christmas colors. Cool. 3 times x is a 3x plus 3 times 4 is 12 equals 4 times x is 4x minus 4 times 3 is 12. Now I have variables on both sides, so I'm going to use my quick trick. I like to move the smaller one first. So I'll take this 3x and move it over here. Now, when I do that, I'm left with 12 on this side, so I'll just copy it down. 4x minus 3x is just 1x, or just x, and I still have this minus 12. The very last step to get x isolated is I need to move this minus 12 to the other side to combine with the constant. The opposite of minus 12 is plus 12. 12 plus 12 is 24, and 24 equals x, and you are good to go. Yay! Okay, now this is when we're starting to look at similar figures. Similar figures means that it's the same shape but different size. I know these arrows don't really look like they're similar and it's very pixelated, but sorry, that's just what we're going to go with. Now, we can use proportions to solve for missing values within our similar figures. We just need to make sure we set it up correctly. So I'm actually going to color code the sides for you. So we've got this side is in correspondence with this side here. And then this side is in correspondence with this side. Okay, wow. There we go. Okay, so when we set up our proportion, because we're trying to solve for y, we'll have 14.8 over 17.2. Okay, notice you've got yellow over yellow equals 6.2 over y, blue over blue. Now, this is pretty much just quick calculator work. So we'll multiply across. We'll multiply these here and then divide by our leftover. So I'm going to do 17.2 times 6.2, which gives me 106.64. And then divide that by 14.8. Now it's going to give me kind of a not so nice number, but let's just go ahead and round to the nearest hundredth. So the next side length would be about, actually, let's do nearest tenth because that's appropriate based on the drawings. Notice that these are all tenths, so we'll do the same thing. So it's about 7.2. There we go. Which you know that probably makes sense because this side length is smaller than this one, which means that this one should be smaller than this guy here. Okay, moving along. Now we're into percents. Remember that with percents, there are multiple different strategies and you can choose whichever one works best for you. I'll try to model at least a few of them, but my kids, you know me, I usually like to do the most efficient one and the one that's easiest to remember. So when we're looking at is and of, don't forget it's is over of equals percent over 100. So in this regard, it says what percent of 150 is 350. We don't know the percent, so we'll kind of leave that. We could even, if we want, we can make that a variable. Okay, well, it's not erasing, so we're going to leave it there over 100. Right away, because you've got 350 out of 150, you know it's going to be a bigger percent, something like 150%, whatever. Let's cross multiply. So we'll do 350 times 100. It gives you 35,000. And then divide by 150. And it gives you about 233%, which that makes sense because 350 is way bigger than 150. Okay, yay, go crazy. This one says, what is 2.75% of 20? I'm going to show you two ways on this one. If this was me, I would do kind of the quick way. So it's saying what percent is what is 2.75% of 20? If I convert that to a decimal, that would be 0.0275 and then times 20. Okay, so you can do it like that. You can do 0.0275, whoopsies, times 20, which would give you 0.55. And that makes sense because it's literally 2% of 20. Okay, it's very, very little. Or if you're not sure, you can go back to this is over of equals percent over 100. So let's just do that and let's just prove that we're right. So it says 2.75%. So I already know what the percent is, 2.75 over 100. When it says of 20, I know that of, hello, goes in our denominator and we don't know what x is. So I'd cross multiply. Okay, I'll do 20 times 2.75, which gives me 55, divided by 100 gives me 0.55. And now you've just earned 100 cool points because you proved it both ways. Ah! I'm sure Scott's rolling his eyes because he can hear me upstairs. I wouldn't let him be down here because it's math review video time. It's very serious. Okay, just two more slides and then we're all done. So it says 68% of what number is 64.6. So I'm going to show you the proportion. You've got is over of equals percent over 100. So let's go ahead and set this up with what we know. We know that it's 68%. Okay, so we got that. We know 100 always goes down here. Okay. And then it says is 64.6. So I know is goes in the numerator and we don't know what this is. So we will cross multiply and then divide by the leftover. So 64.6 times 100 gives you 6460. Divide that by 68 and you get the answer of 95. So x is equal to 95. And again, you know that makes sense because it's 64.6 out of 95. It's It's not bigger than that, so that makes sense that it would be 68%. All right. Now, this is when we use that formula, interest equals principal times rate times time. So remember that the I represents the interest amount, how many dollars you earn in interest. P is principal, which means like your starting amount, whatever you put in. Your rate is your percent, but it's expressed as a decimal. Okay. So if it was like 11%, that'd be 0.11. Or if it was 7%, that'd be 0.07. And then T is time in years. So let's plug in what we know. It says you have $10,000 to deposit in a savings account. Okay. So there's your principal. We've got 10,000 stacks. Ah! Then it says that it earns it at a rate of 4.5% per year. Now, to write that as a decimal, remember you just have to move it over twice and you'll fill in a zero. So that's 0.045. So times 0.045 times, okay, T is 2 years. So times 2. And this will all give us our interest. So let's go ahead and multiply all three values together. So 10,000 times 0.045 times 2 gives you $900. So your interest after you deposit that $10,000 at a rate of 4.5% per year for 2 years is $900. Cool. All right, last slide here. So this was lesson 210. It's like 29 and 210, where we're talking about percent increase, percent change, etc. Remember that when you're trying to find the percent change, you find the difference between the two values and put it over the original. Okay, so you put it over the original. So if I'm looking at this, I'm going from an original of 83 to 41. First of all, that's a percent decrease. And we're going to find the difference. So we'll do 83 minus 41 and put it over the original, which is 83. So if I do 83 minus 41, that gives me 42. And then I'm going to do 42 divided by 83. And that gives me about 51% decrease. Okay, so it's important not only to find that percent, but also to know it's a decrease because it's going from 83 to 41. Okay, last one here. And then I think I'm going to add one more at the bottom just because I know there's one more thing that we should talk about. Okay, so the Ragniers purchased a house for $357,000 and they sold it for 475% or $475,000. What is the percent increase? Okay, we know it's increased because it's going up. So step one, let's find the difference between the two, and we're going to put it over the original. So this is the original. Okay, so I'm going to do 475 minus 357. So that gives me, oh my goodness gracious, $118,000 over $357,000. Welcome to being an adult. Okay, 118,000 divided by 357,000. So that is on your calculator, it'll give you 0.33. Now, most of us would know, okay, well, that's about 33%. But if you're not sure, you can just multiply it by 100. Okay, the last thing, sorry, I don't have like a cute slide prepared, but I want to make sure that I cover it here. Let's say that you had a sweater that was originally $30. Okay, so it's originally $30 and it's on sale for 15% off, and you want to know the discounted price. There's two ways that you can do this. Okay, there's two ways. Remember that Miss Levan likes to do it quick and easy. If it's on sale for 15% off, that means that you're paying for 85%. So what you can do is just 0.85 times 30. And that would give you a sale price of about 25. Well, it's not about it. It would be exactly $25.50. Or you can do it like this. You can find what 15% of 30 is. So 0.15 times 30. And that gives you 4.5. And you can subtract that from the original, which would again give you 2550. So both methods work. Okay, Sunshine Angels. So just a quick recap for your chapter 2 summative, the things that'll be on there: solving equations, solving literal equations, which means like you might have all these variables in here and you have to isolate them. And remember, you're just moving pieces. Okay, you're just moving pieces using inverse operations. Solving proportions for single values. Remember, when they look like this, you can just cross multiply and divide by the leftover. Solving multi-step proportions. That's when you set up your cross products, and it's usually just a lot of distributive property. Using proportions to solve for missing side lengths in similar figures. Now, your assessment will be on the computer, but you can always sketch this out on paper and just like color code the different parts of it to help you set it up. Finding percentages of numbers and finding different parts and wholes. Remember, your best friend here, I'm going to write it nice and big, is over of, okay, hello, equals percent over 100. And then finding its interest using this formula, I equals PRT. I will not give that to you on the assessment, so you need to remember it. I equals PRT. And then finding percent change and increase and finding sale prices. So make sure you do your study guide. That'll be due when you come in to take your assessment. Make sure you study. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Tell all your friends that there's a very lit math teacher putting out videos on the internet. And thank you for tuning in. Have an awesome day.